How to systemize your B2C coaching business like a billionaire. So guys, this is how to systemize anything, but specifically your business. Now, these principles can apply to anyone, anything you're kind of doing. To give you guys an example, just to kick it off, if you live in a flat or an apartment, the system to leave the building would be open door, locked door, go down the hall, go down the stairs, press the button to open the main door, go out the main door, you're then at the apartment. That is a system. So pull V, pull W, pull X, push W to then get Z to happen. At its very bare bones, that's basically what a system is. Now, the reason why the title of this video is how to systemize your business like a billionaire is to clickbait you. But the second reason is because of this book. Thinking in Systems by Danella H. Meadows. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I've not read this book cover to cover, but I've read enough to get the main points out of it. Now, remember the levers that we had before? So these are an example of a system, right? So to kind of think in systems would be to analyze that process, that system, and then identify its inefficiencies and breakpoints to improve them, test it again, find more inefficiencies and breakpoints, fix and repeat the process. Now you can actually use that process to improve and excel in anything that you do in life, like when you go to the gym, you go through the system of your workout. So you might do incline dumbbell, then you do the, what's it called? Fly, you know what I'm talking about, this one. You do this one, then you might do lat raises, something like that. And then you note down all of the lifts that you've done, like all the weights that you've done. And then the next time that you go, you up the weights, you improve the system, so you fix any inefficiencies, and you just keep going and going and going until you get a hedge. Now, how can we use this in our business? Now, let's take the B2C info coaching market for an example. So, this is kind of like how the system would kind of go. So you'd have two sources of getting leads in, so content or paid ads. You'd get the person or the prospect onto your Instagram or wherever you may be doing most of your bookings. And this is kind of like your landing page. So once your prospect is on the landing page, your setting outreaches goes through the setting process. So, your outreach, qualify, current, future, plan, pivot point to book the call. They'd go through that whole process, however that might look. Could be on the phones, could be in the DMs, could be anywhere. Now the setter will book. So once the setter's booked, that's that. Then obviously post-booking process will come in. You'll nurture them through an email sequence. There may be more rapport built via the setter in the meantime, just talking to them basically after the booking's happened. Then there may be a triage call. Now, we really only implement this when there's quite a high volume of calls and we want to make sure that every single call is as qualified as it possibly can be. What we found is the majority of people are not going to tell you exactly how much money they have in their savings to a T. However, on a triage call where there's more of that person-to-person element, they're more likely to reveal, a bit more about themselves. So that's another reason to implement that. Then sales call. Do your thing, break some limiting beliefs or things like that. Close them up, boom, boom, boom. Now we'll onboard them. So the onboarding, if you're an offer owner, you'll know that the onboarding is the most important part of the entire process. And the reason why is because as soon as someone buys, they experience something called buyer's remorse. So what your job with the onboarding is to do is to make sure that process is as smooth as possible, and any buyer's remorse that might be there gets tackled, any concerns gets tackled, and basically just make them feel comfortable, welcome, they know where everything is, they can basically do what they need to do. Then you break it into service delivery, so that could be all of these, could be group coaching once or twice a week, could be tech support, so in the group chat, in the WhatsApp, in the Slack, in the school, whatever that might be, supporting your students, all things like that, or you might also do one-to-ones, okay? So now you have your system and you can kind of see it from a bird's eye view. Kind of imagine this now here as it's almost like a train track kind of thing. So you can view every single point in the track, and now you have this view, you can begin to identify any sort of inefficiencies or breakpoints. When I say breakpoints, it's pretty self-explanatory. I basically just mean points in the system that could potentially break for whatever reason. For example, like I said before, we know onboarding is the most important part. So potentially, if this process is being rushed For example, you're taking the sales call, you're having to do the onboarding straight after the sales call because you literally have no time. Okay, so we can identify that's a potential breakpoint, that's a potential inefficiency because this part's being rushed. So to make this process more efficient, what we could do is we could hire a closer. They can then take those calls, and then you can make sure that no one has any sort of buyer's remorse, any sort of bad intention, bad feelings or anything like that, so that when they come into your program, they're positioned in the best way to get the best results possible. Or for example, if you're doing a one-to-one model and it's stacking out your calendar all the way to the moon and back, you know there's a break point there. You either need to get a CSM, a client success manager, which is a position that I do in an agency, or you need to get an operations manager. Pretty similar, to be honest with you, but either one of those. Or you need to potentially pivot away from the one-to-one model and only do group coaching, or you change your pricing system to have different tiers to allow only really high paying clients one-to-one timings. But to even know any of this, you have to run the system, you have to make mistakes, you have to create fires, you have to put out fires, and you have to improve the system day by day. Now, a motto that we have with some of our clients is speed to the problem. And basically what this means is, it doesn't matter if problems come up, okay? Especially in business, it's actually like a bit weird if there aren't any problems. That's fine. But what matters is how quickly you can fix them. And essentially bringing it back to this kind of concept is, how quickly can you find those breakpoints, those inefficiencies, and then how quickly can you make your product better because of it? But yeah, I hope that all kind of made sense. If you guys have any other questions, anything at all that you kind of want to ask me about systems, about setting management, about placing setters, training setters, even if you want to become a setter, anything to do with high ticket online sales, you know where to find me now. So my Instagram's Aaron Tyre, and feel free to reach out to me on there. Here it is down here. You know where to find me. We'll go from there. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.